Okay, good morning everyone. This is Karl F. Rose, recording from Bedford, Pennsylvania on Monday, April 29th, 2019. This is my second podcast. But before we get going with today's episode, on the Detroit Lions draft, I want to get a couple things out of the way here. First, I'm still working on my settings on the podcast. I tried my external mic, and I don't think I had the volume setting, and it sounded low. So this podcast I'm recording just from the internal microphone. I'm going to see how it works and uploads when I upload it to my YouTube podcast channel. I think I can, once I hear how that sounds, because on my first podcast, you could barely hear me, and that's because I had the volume. I think once I figure out this, I can go back to my external mic, which is a better mic and a better setup. So anyway, one more thing is, I'm going to be working on a 360, what I call a 360 project. Right now I'm just doing weekly podcasts as I'm getting used to this, but eventually, I'm going to be doing daily podcasts. So that way I have a daily podcast going directly to my YouTube channel every single day. I would like to do 365 days a year, but that's basically impossible. I have things like, we all have things to do, doctor's appointments, other things, Christmas, birthdays, that sort of thing. So there are days where we just can't do that. So, but anyway, so I'm going to call it my 360 project. Basically, I'm going to be pumping out podcasts almost on a daily basis, but I will get to that point when I get better at my podcast. So now that I got those announcements out of the way, let's go into my grading of the 2019 Detroit Lions draft. And I want to give a shout out to Everything King. He did his evaluation yesterday, and he did mention Karl. I think he's meaning me, but anyway, if he didn't mean me, well, that's okay. I'll give him a shout out on this podcast anyway. I'll put it in the description. So Everything King, yeah, I think we're on the same page on a lot of things. Maybe not this podcast, but anyway, let's get on with it. Okay. TJ, let me explain my grading, how I grade things. I go from, I have a point system, A to F, with F being the lowest number, F being a 1, and A plus being a 14. So you have A plus, A, and A minus. So that's three points for A. So you go all the way down to F. You can't get an F minus. So you get an F plus. So the total of 14 points. So and then I divide the total points up between the number of picks. So let's get on to that. First pick, T.J. Hawkinson, tight end. I give that a B minus. I would have preferred somebody else in the first round, but the thing is, let me get back. I wanted to do a little brief history first on the line. Let me go back to T.J. Hawkinson. I've got my notes and they're all scattered all over the place. I want to say this. This draft, even though my grade's gonna be a little bit controversial, I do believe the Lions are going in the right direction. I think Quinn and Patricia are directing the Lions in the way they want to go. But the reason why I want to go back in history a little bit is we all know the disastrous when they picked Joey Harrington for the quarterback. What a disaster! But I looked back at the 2002 draft, and really there was no quarterbacks available at that time, but the thing is, what I'm getting at is 2001, and as we all know, the Lions at that time still needed a quarterback. Well, who they picked for their first pick was Jim Backus, who turned out to be a pretty decent offensive lineman, but that's who they picked in 2001 for their first one, Jim Backus. In 2002, then they, I believe their top pick was Dominic Raiola, which, he started out okay, and by the time he was finished with the Lions, I was so disgusted with the guy. But anyway, here's the reason I mentioned this, why it was so important. In 2001, and the reason why I'm saying this is because it was the thinking of the Lions back then compared to where they're at now. Okay, as we know, the Millen era, and then the GM before him. So you have the GM before Millen, then the Millen era, which was a disaster. Then Tom LaWand and Mark Mayhew and all that. Well, that's decades of disaster. And so what Quinn and Patricia are trying to do is fix decades of just horrible last place draft picks. And so it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a few years for Bob Quinn to undo decades of mess. And I think he's doing it rather quickly. So anyway, in 2001, in 2001, the Lions still needed a quarterback. I can't remember who their quarterback was at that time, but I just remember all these pathetic quarterbacks. Harrington, as I just mentioned, and Gary Danielson. Oh, God. I can't even watch Gary Danielson on college games. If he's announcing, I have to switch to a different game. Because all I can think of is what a disaster Danielson was as quarterback for the Lions. Anyway, in 2001, instead of picking a quarterback, like I said, they picked Jeff Backus. Well, guess what quarterback in 2001 was available at the second pick? So in other words, and the Lions' first pick, this quarterback was still available. The Lions could have, if they had any brains, they could have picked Drew Brees. That's what I'm getting at. They could have picked Drew Brees in 2001. That would have, but we're going to the Lions' mentality prior to Quinn and Patricia. The Lions' mentality in their picking and their management style is awful. That's why I've been picking on the Lions for all these years. That's why I've been giving them Fs. That's why I've been saying that 0 and 16 all the time, because management doesn't know what to do. What I liked about it so far is it seems like in their free agency, it looks like Martha Ford finally opened up the pocketbook and maybe spent a little too much money on some of these things, like Trey Flowers and Justin Coleman. But the fact is, she opened her pocketbook and got players that if the Lions didn't get Coleman or Trey Flowers, another team would have. So I'm okay with that. I thought they'd spend a little too much money on it, but that's okay. They're going in the right direction. So now let's get on to my grades again, okay? Let's start over again. T.J. Hawkinson, tight end, first round pick. I didn't really like the thing I gave Quinn on that is that they picked him the first round. But the problem with, the only reason why I don't ding him too badly is because if they didn't pick him in the first round, he probably would not have been around in the second round. And not only that, he's so versatile. He's going to be able to help. He is a blocking tight end, so they do need line needs, and so they're going to probably look like they're going to have a 2 or 3 tight end set, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, so I give that a B minus, which is that would be 9 points. So And then the second pick, linebacker, Jelani Tavai from, I believe he's from Hawaii. I give that a D, 4 points. I looked at I looked at the films here, so, I'm giving it a D. I just think it was a bad choice. I think they could have got somebody better at that. There's a lot of people available, so, maybe Bob Quinn, there's a reason Bob Quinn is the general manager of the Lions and I'm not. So maybe he saw something, in this guy that, I didn't see it. I give that a D. Will Harris, safety, for the number 3, I give that a C+. Hoping he works out. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but they at least are addressing that area, so that's good. Number 4, Austin Bryant. That I give a B+, 11 points, defensive end, and to quote, Bob Gruden, guy's a grinder. Yeah. I think he's going to be impact. So I didn't give him an A, but I gave him a B+. No A's on the board, but he's a grinder. That was a need. They filled that. Then I get on number 5. I do like this guy, but I only give him a 7. It's number 5's Amani Oriwari, whatever. He's from, I believe he was on Penn State. Yeah, he was on Penn State. I gave it a C and 7 points. I'm not sure. He does have long arms, so we'll have to see. But I remember him being a royal pain, since I'm a Michigan fan, and I don't really care about Penn State too much. In fact, I basically despise Penn State. And the only reason I ever watched any part of Penn State games was to see them lose, and it seemed like this guy was always coming up with a play to spoil my day, and they would get a win when I was hoping they would lose. So this is probably a pretty good pick. But I still only gave it a C. Not sure how he's going to work out. Now, on pick, this guy I get, Travis Fulgham, a wide receiver, I give that an F. I looked at stuff, and I don't know why in the world they even picked this guy. There was absolutely zero value in this guy. It was Travis Fulgham, whatever, F. If I could give it an F-, I would. 1 point. So that was a waste. That was just a wasted pick, in my opinion. Next one. Okay, Ty Johnson, running back from Maryland. Yeah, again, the Michigan game. Excuse me. 98-yard kickoff return against Michigan. Yeah, that's embedded in my. When I saw that, it's like, we need to get this guy, and they got him. Now he's a running back, and I think he'll probably be a 3rd, but I can see him more. Even though Agnew's pretty good, this guy will be the Lions' special teams guy. And he'll be a kind of guy if the kickoff comes in and is about 2 or 3 yards back in the end zone, I would have no problem with seeing him run it out. Because I am convinced that he will at least get it, even though it's that deep, I can see him at least getting it out to the maybe 30-yard line. So anything past the 25, will be okay. But, he's gonna be more like a special, teams guy. And the Lions special teams, they still need help. They still need areas. And he'll be able to fill in, on spots, on the offense. But he'll be the number 3 guy. But that was, for that, that was a steal. But Ty Johnson was a steal. Thinking of that, maybe him and Kerryon Johnson in the backfield at the same time, Johnson and Johnson. Kind of sounds like a company name, so that would work. Johnson and Johnson, what a combination. Anyway, the next one, number 8, Isaac Nautu, tight end. Looks pretty good. I gave it a C+, 8 points. Looks like he's going to be mainly a blocker, but it looks like he can catch too. But we'll see where he fits in. Overall, these picks, and what I'm getting, and even though I'm only giving like C's and B's and stuff, these are way better than the draft picks in the past. I mean, under Millen and Mayhew, and it's like they were making picks like, what are they thinking? I mean, the one pick, let's see, I don't think this was a Quinn pick. When they picked the first round, when they picked that Laken Tomlinson guy from Yale or Harvard or whatever, a guard in the first round, it was like, I was furious. I mean, he's got a dumbass pick. And it proved to be. Now he's on the 49ers and doing terrible over there. So good. I don't like the 49ers anyway. So they can have him. But, those are the kind of, those disastrous picks, in the past is what drove me nuts. This is finally the first time I can be almost excited about it. We'll just have to wait and see how training camp goes, how, the training camp, the mini stuff, and then the preseason, and then the final cuts to the 53-man roster and see where everything goes. But it appears the Lions are going to be a grind-out team, which they need to be, which is what I've been saying the whole time, so that's good. Then we get to the number 9, P.J. Johnson, I'm going to call him a grinder. Looked at defensive tackle, give them a B+ on that. I should have given it 11 points. Why did I give it? Okay. Well, anyway, I give him a B+, and so overall, with my grading points, I added everything up. I added up all the points, and I divided it by 9. So I had, I miscalculated, but, I should have had, 68, but still, whatever. Now I had 67 points, divided by 9, that's an average of 7.4, and, so, with my point grades going, A+ 14, A 13, A 12, B+ 11, B 10, B- 9, C + 8, C 7, okay, and then it goes down from there. So my overall average, after averaging all these points, came out to a 7.4, which would be, in my opinion, a C. So I give Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia and the whole Lions crew a C, a big fat C in the draft. Usually I give them a big fat F, an F- usually, in which there is no F-, but so it's a C. So it's okay. I'm hoping that maybe I'm wrong and some of these players do better. I'm cautiously optimistic, and that's part of the reason why I did it. So I'm saying this is a C, and it's based on my calculations. And one other thing that I want to mention, Everything King again. They just did a undrafted thing, and they just picked up a huge lineman from Wisconsin, Bo, and I can't pronounce his last, but I remember watching him. The guy's a bulldozer. It's exactly what they need. This was just, and that's not even counted in my calculation. Actually, I would have given that, if I would have put that in my calculations, I would have given that an A plus. And so that might have went up, that probably would have improved my scoring from a C to a C plus, or even a B minus. But, getting that guy from Wisconsin, Bo, whatever his name is, huge. Trust me, because I watched a lot of Big Ten games, and the guy just moved people out of the way. That's what the Lions want. So I think you're going to see the Lions pick up some more undrafted free agents, and that's where they're going to address more of their line issues, I think. He said he's happy with the line, but I think he's going to get some people in there to make some competition in the offensive line. So, anyway, that's it. I want to see how this recording comes out. I needed to do some adjusting, and this is going to be uploaded. It's going to go to my YouTube podcast channel. It's a brand new channel. This is going to be my second video on the channel. So be sure to head over to that. And if you're not subscribed to my main YouTube channel, be sure to check that out. And I will also have a link to this podcast, to my Podbean channel, so you can see all my or listen to all my podcasts. So if you're out and about driving and that sort of thing. Anyway, I didn't want to get this out of the way, but stay tuned for my next Monday podcast, and eventually I'm going to be doing a podcast every morning, and so we're going to go from there. So we'll talk to you later.